Hello, and welcome to part 2 of my eFinance video series. Last video I talked a little bit about eFinance, what it is, how to access it, and a brief tour of the website. In this video I'm going to be talking about how to best prepare yourself if you are going TDY. Consider this your pre-travel guide. So, you have orders and it requires you to travel. The first thing you need to do is take a look at those orders to determine a few bits of information. So, starting from the top, I would verify that all of the personal information is correct. For example, if the address information is incorrect, it could lead to an improper BAH payment amount. The next item you want to look at is the number of authorized travel days, if any. For example, I am on orders from April 1st to September 27th, and I have 2 travel days authorized, one on the front of my orders and one on the back end. Next, let's take a look at the second page and find whether settlement of the travel voucher needs to be completed in DTS or RTS. If your orders say DTS, then you are filing through the Defense Travel System, and a link to that website can be found on the Air Force portal. If your orders say RTS, then you are filing through eFinance. It is also mandatory to submit the final voucher within 5 days after your orders end. On a side note, if you are on orders for 90 days or greater, ensure that you send your orders to your wing FSS so they can generate a DD-214 for that time period. Scrolling down, the orders state that any travel arrangements must be made through CTO, or the Commercial Travel Office. This includes things like booking plane tickets or renting cars. Compliance with this policy is mandatory per AFI 24-101. Scrolling further down, you want to see what additional travel accommodations are authorized. For this example, it states that a rental car is not authorized for these orders. Also stated in this section is the reimbursement amount authorized for my travel days. In this example, the government calculated that in order to get from Colorado to Mississippi and back via the most financially advantageous method to them, which is a round-trip commercial plane, it would cost $404. If I chose to travel by any other means, I would only be reimbursed up to $404. On the next page, it talks about per diem. Per diem is the allowance for lodging, meals, and incidental expenses while you are traveling and on TDY status. The amount of per diem given per day is dependent on a few different factors. If you are staying on base and have access to government dining facilities on that installation, your per diem amount will be the standard government meal rate. If you are staying off base and have an official letter of non-availability, which is given in circumstances where the on-base lodging is no vacancy for your trip duration, you are authorized the local meals rate for that location. In order to check that information, let's go to DTMO. Once on the home page, let's navigate to Allowances and click on Per Diem Rate. Under Quick Links and Resources, click on Per Diem Rates Query. Using my example orders, let's look at per diem rates for Mississippi. Using Google Maps, you can determine the city that the base is located in, and by doing that, I know that Keesler Air Force Base is located in Biloxi, so I'm going to be using the figures in the Biloxi row. The first column corresponds to the maximum amount authorized for off-base lodging per day, and so I can see that I have up to $96 a day to pay for my lodging. If I'm staying on base, then this number is a non-factor. The next column is the local meals rate, which is $50. The column after that is proportional meals rate, and the next column is the incidentals rate, which is used to cover things like tips and fees. Reference table 2-17 in the JTR to determine which meal rate is applicable to your situation. After settlement of your voucher is completed, you will be reimbursed the sum total of the meals and incidentals you are authorized, or commonly abbreviated M&IE. For my scenario referencing this chart, I will receive $55 a day while on TDY status in Mississippi for my M&IE, assuming I'm eligible for the local meals rate. As far as lodging goes, you will be charging the cost of lodging to your GTC, your government travel card. So let's talk about your GTC for a second. First of all, the GTC is a credit card used to charge authorized travel expenses to, and so you as the member aren't financially responsible for footing the travel bill. It is extremely important to ensure that your GTC is activated and won't expire during your travels. If there are any problems with your GTC, get with your unit GTC monitor and correct them before you travel. When you are TDY and traveling, you will charge items such as your plane ticket, rental car, and lodging to your GTC. Now, let me offer a little bit of advice here. Always charge the required items to your GTC, such as the plane tickets and lodging, and while you are authorized to charge other travel expenses to your card, for the sake of simplicity and for an easier completion of your travel voucher later, I would recommend charging as little to your GTC as possible. In future videos, when we complete a sample voucher together, you will see why. So finishing out the order section, The remaining bits of information are details about the purpose of your travel. If it's a class, those dates and details will be here. And finally, there may be some personalized information or notes from your orders clerk at the end. So in this example, even though the primary method or the authorized method of travel is plain, I'm opting to travel via my personal auto, and the details of that choice is annotated here. Now I know we covered a lot of information here, so let's recap. You received orders that require you to travel. The first thing you should do is review your orders. Verify personal information is accurate. Check how many travel days are authorized. Determine whether filing should be done through DTS or RTS. And check to see if there are any additional travel accommodations that are authorized or not. Next, verify that your GTC is activated and not expired. Then, book your lodging, plane tickets, or rental car. Again, if there is no vacancy on base for your dates, make sure to request a letter of non-availability and book off base. Search per diem rates based on your location and status, i.e. local rate or government rate. If opting to drive to TDY location in lieu of flying, or driving is the authorized method of travel, make sure to calculate mileage for reimbursement. Ensure that all required purchases are made using your GTC, and that all travel is booked through the CTO or other authorized booking entities. Finally, keep all receipts during your travel. You will need these when you are filing your travel voucher. Okay, so now you're in the middle of your TDY. What do you need to do from here? Well, first off, keep saving those receipts and request any zero balance receipts from your lodging if they aren't already provided. Next, you need to determine whether or not you need to file a partial voucher while at your TDY location, or if you can wait to file one final voucher when you return. So let me explain this process so you can determine which option is best for you. While on TDY, you are incurring expenses necessary to travel, eat, and sleep in order to perform whatever duty you were tasked with. These expenses are covered by the government through reimbursement. In order for the government to understand, track, and pay your expenses, they need to be provided a package detailing everything about your travel, including an itinerary and expense receipts, and that is what a travel voucher is for. Once you complete a travel voucher and it gets approved, funds are pulled to pay off your GTC and reimburse you for any per diem owed via an advice of payment. Your GTC will not get paid off by the government, nor will you receive any per diem until after the voucher is submitted and approved. So with that being said, what happens when a GTC with a $4,500 credit limit has to sustain 6 months worth of travel expenses? Well, the first way to remedy this is to file what is called an interim voucher, and these vouchers can encapsulate a period of 30 days or more. For longer tours, multiple interim vouchers may need to be submitted. There's also an initial voucher you can file immediately upon arrival at your TDY location that covers all expenses that occurred while en route. If the filing process is taking too long and your GTC is at risk of reaching the max credit limit, you need to reach out to your unit GTC monitor and have them place your card in mission critical status, increase your credit limit, or potentially both. So, using basic math and sound judgment, you should be able to determine the types of vouchers you need to file and how often. Okay, so now you understand your responsibilities before you travel and during your TDY, but what about when you complete your travel? Well, it's simple. And like I stated earlier in this video, you need to complete a final voucher within 5 days after your order's end. This is mandated by AFI, so don't procrastinate. As a final note, I know the eFinance travel voucher process can be tedious and frustrating at times. Hopefully, my videos can alleviate any potential frustration or confusion, so please check them out, and thank you for watching.